Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us here for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. On the satellite imagery, here's the low pressure area and front that brought the gale force winds into the western Aleutians today, with the rain spreading in toward the central areas there around AKwx. Winds gusting 25 to 40, in some cases high as 50 miles an hour out here over the far western zone there. Otherwise, you can see just a lot of clouds with some breaks out here over the Bering Sea, and some more storminess back here over the Russian Far East and Manchuria in that area. Onto the satellite imagery that goes west here, a lot of clearing out again over at the southeast coast. Had a lot of low clouds here out along the coastline, but mostly sunny skies in over the Panhandle today. Pretty cloudy though up along the North Gulf Coast. That area clouds rolled into Prince William Sound. And then this batch of clouds here kind of dropping south and southeast, that brought showers and some rain in across the central Tanana Valley down in toward the 40-mile country, seeing rain at Northway this afternoon. Fairbanks picked up a little over 1/10 of an inch of rain in the last 24 hours, while Northway had about 2/10 of an inch. Eielson Air Force Base picked up a little over 1/4 of an inch of rain. Another area is back in through here down to the south toward the Brooks Range, or toward the Alaska Range, had anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 an inch of rain. But back to the north, back to the west, a lot of clear skies, sunshine, brisk northeast winds, 10 to 20 miles an hour across the northwest interior here, back toward the upper Yukon Valley, and gusting as high as 30 to 35 miles an hour along the western Arctic coast there, from the Cape Lisburne area down around toward Kivalina. Otherwise, this trough kicking off some showers and thunderstorms here this afternoon over the Kilbrook Mountains and out toward the southwest coast, getting some thunderstorms once again, not quite to the extent you saw yesterday, but just starting up. Also had some thunderstorms develop over the western Alaska Range, the Talkeetna Mountains, and some lightning strikes in the Chugach Range this afternoon. Also some thunderstorms here down along the North Gulf Coast around Cape Yakataga, and then also, of course, over the Wrangell Mountains, a little more common area for that, and that's already shifted off into Canada there. But some of that moisture may slide into the northern southeast coast later tonight with that 1,003 millibar low up over the Yukon. Back to the west, areas of rain along the Alaska Peninsula, False Pass reporting rain this afternoon, now extending up and in over the Pribilof Islands there. And much of the southeast Bering Sea seeing periods of light rain, fog, and drizzle, but some breaks here over Bristol Bay. Also quite a few breaks here out over the eastern Aleutian areas and back in toward AKwx, and then that front spreading the rain in toward AKwx area, and then the gale force winds with this system back to the west. So those gales stay out for tonight here for the western Aleutian. Small craft advisories out for the central Aleutian areas with periods of rain. Should be mostly fair with light winds here over the eastern Aleutians, but still that area of moisture keeping it socked in over the Pribilof Islands back down to the Alaska Peninsula with fog, drizzle, scattered showers through this area here. Look for evening thunderstorms here over the southern Alaska, or the western Alaska Range back out to the southwest interior, with showers, scattered showers, mainly around the mountains with isolated thunderstorms here across the Copper River Basin over to the Wrangell Mountains, drying off and cooling off up over the Tanana Valley areas. Pretty high fire dangers here with those northeast winds, 10 to 20 miles per hour, with occasional gusts of 25 miles per hour, staying quite windy. So look for extreme fire dangers in the Noatak, Kobuk, Koyukuk Valley, as well as the Yukon Valley for tonight and tomorrow probably as well. And then still have this area of snow going on over the eastern Arctic coast there, with some isolated rain or snow showers down over the eastern Brooks Range area. But then south of the mountains, it'll be mostly clear and pretty chilly. Temperatures dropping below freezing here over the eastern interior places like Eagle. Forecast down into the 20s, as well as much of the northeast and the Arctic coast. And then for the southeast coast here, a lot of low clouds and fog staying along and off the coast there, but some of that will increase and move inland again. Risk of some showers here over the Yakutat area and back in toward Prince William Sound, but a lot of low clouds, areas of fog here up along the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, coming down, starting to just close in on Kodiak Island. This area of moisture here will begin to creep northward and bring a chance of rain to the southern island late tomorrow afternoon, but more than likely tomorrow night. Area will shift northward and bring rain into the island tomorrow night and on Tuesday and on Wednesday. Otherwise, look for the scattered showers with isolated thunderstorms here. Showers a little more numerous over south central Alaska, northern Cook Inlet areas in the Matanuska-Susitna Valley, all the way up to the Alaska Range. Looks pretty damp tomorrow with, again, isolated thunderstorms developing over the Alaska Range in the Wrangell Mountain areas, but not to the extent that we probably see today and yesterday. Back out to the southwest, probably some thunderstorms developing along the western Alaska Range, but mostly just showers, scattered showers back over the southwest interior, northeast Bristol Bay, on out to the southwest coast. See some breaks here over Bristol Bay and also along the Alaska Peninsula. Still in pretty good conditions here over the eastern Aleutians. Just some variable clouds with the winds continuing light, and small craft advisories here for Tuesday for the central Aleutians with periods of rain from about Kiska Island all the way over to Atka. And then for the Wednesday outlook, that system down to the south develops into a pretty good 989 millibar low center with pulling the easterly flow, pulling rain back in across Kodiak Island. Good chance of showers now, cloudy skies with scattered and numerous showers developing here all along the southeast coast, kind of a change from the last several days. Showers also again over the Copper River Basin, isolated thunderstorms developing over the Talkeetna Mountains, the eastern Alaska Range, White Mountains there north of Fairbanks with showers over the eastern interior. Still looking at that mixed rain and snow condition there up over the eastern Brooks Range with continued fog and periods of light snow or flurries there along the eastern Arctic coast, but that northeast wind continuing, gusting up to 35 miles an hour here for the Noatak Valley down through the Bering Strait, and 30-knot winds in the forecast for St. Lawrence Island and down into the northern Bering Sea. Small craft advisories with that northerly flow, not quite as strong, but extending all the way to and south of the Aleutians. This trough will bring some scattered shower activity to the southwest coast, mostly Kuskokwim Bay, back out to the Pribilof Islands early, and then that'll shift south of the area there. Risk of a few showers over the Alaska Peninsula and also up over Bristol Bay and that area there. Of course, Kilbrook Mountains definitely will see some shower activity on Wednesday with this 996 millibar low sitting over the Yukon and Kuskokwim River deltas. For highs today, or temperatures at 4 p.m., just 48 at Elfin Cove with the cloud cover in there, but up to 64 at Wrangell, 64 also at Klawock, 65 at Petersburg up there, and 51 with cloudy skies at Yakutat. Same temperature there at Cordova. 54 degrees in Valdez, but up to 69 today at Anchorage, 55 at Kenai, 60 degrees down at Homer with 57 at Kodiak. In the Susitna Valley, Talkeetna up to 75. Is one of the warmer locations in the state today. About Port Ellsworth was about the same as well. 60 degrees though at Gulkana, 50 at Northway, just a cool 41 degrees with rain at Delta, 50 degrees at Fairbanks, kind of chilly there, and a little milder but still in the 50s back toward Tanana. Same thing up at Bettles, 36 degrees at Anatuvik, 10 degrees warmer over at Arctic Village with Fort Yukon up to 50 this afternoon. And at 4 o'clock, Barrow at 33 degrees, Dead Horse 34, and Etusuk at 38, 42 over at Point Lay, and then back down to 36 at Cape Lisburne, 58 in Kivalina, 59 at Kotzebue, and a 51-degree reading at Buckland with 55 here on the Seward Peninsula, the south coast. That's at Nome with 55. 61 degrees there at McGrath, down a little from yesterday, but up to 70 at Sleep Mute, and about the same at Bethel, close to 70, 69 degrees. 68 at St. Michael with 56 degrees there at Amonic. 43 at Macoriac on Nunivak Island. Same temperature also recorded at St. Paul with 43 degrees. 42 at St. George. Mid to upper 40s here for the Alaska Peninsula, lower 50s as you head in toward Bristol Bay, and then up to 67 degrees both at Iliamna and King Salmon. Otherwise, the Aleutians all in the 40s. Lows tonight, 40s to lower 50s along the southeast coast, mostly in the mid to upper 40s here. Copper River Basin, south central Alaska, and that actually extends all the way out to the southwest coast. And then a cooler 20s here for the Arctic coast, north slope areas, right down into the northeast interior. Temperatures dropping below 30 degrees, 30-degree isotherm there just north of Bettles down across the Tanana Valley. That 20, that's the forecast low for Eagle tonight with upper 30s, mid to upper 30s there for the southern Seward Peninsula and the Yukon Delta areas with 40s, lower 40s out over the Aleutians, upper 30s for the Pribilofs. Looking at the forecast highs for tomorrow, lower to mid 30s up here along the Arctic coast with mid to upper 50s to near 60 up over the upper Yukon Valley, the upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country. More sunshine, warmer temperatures, but most everyone's staying in the mid to high 60s, mid to upper 60s here over the southwest interior areas, and a little cooler, 50s over Bristol Bay, upper 50s to maybe lower 60s with the increased cloud cover and shower activity here over south central Alaska and the Copper River Basin. Temperatures tomorrow, upper 50s to lower 60s there along the southeast coast. Out to the west in the Aleutians, highs in the lower to mid 40s with lower 50s here along the Alaska Peninsula, mid to upper 50s as I mentioned in Bristol Bay. Flying weather with the moisture here and the shower activity, isolated thunderstorms. Areas of marginal VFR along the Alaska Range, also there in the Madanuska-Susitna Valley areas, marginal VFR at times in areas there. Definitely marginal in Prince William Sound, possible IFR in the morning hours, and then same pattern here along the southeast coast, marginal VFR getting into Dixon Entrance there and right along the coastline for tomorrow afternoon with the IFR staying or pulling back off the coast, whatever shows up. And Kodiak Island kind of getting surrounded here with the low clouds and increasing fog conditions there. That'll probably go to marginal in areas of IFR on the eastern coast for Wednesday. IFR tomorrow forecast for the Pribilof Islands. Otherwise, the southwest coast will see areas of VFR with those gusty offshore flow northeast winds up here. Should be VFR, St. Lawrence Island, Seward Peninsula, Yukon Delta across Norton Sound, all of the northwest interior looking pretty good, VFR flying there. Eastern Arctic coast, though, continues with the same pattern, marginal VFR with areas of IFR, fog and flurries there for the east side, and some of that working down into the across the eastern north slope to the Brooks Range there, but nothing south of the crest of the mountains. And then out to the west here, a lot of marginal to areas of IFR for the Shimiat 2 area, out over the western Aleutians, possible few breaks here over the central areas. Passes for Anaktuvik, possible marginal conditions on that northern entrance, otherwise VFR to the south. That same forecast also for Adigan. Marginal VFR north entrance, VFR to the south. And on the Lake Clark and Merrill eastern approaches here, look for marginal VFR on those on the east side of the passes with isolated thunderstorms again developing along the western Alaska Range. Should be VFR off to the west. And for rainy, marginal VFR here on the eastern entrance, otherwise VFR to the west and through the pass. And for windy, isolated thunderstorms possible, and otherwise the entire pass there, north and south, marginal VFR at times. That same forecast also for Isabel, marginal VFR with risk of a thunderstorm. Mentasta, same forecast, marginal VFR, chance of thunderstorms. And for Tanita, look for marginal conditions both east and west throughout the day tomorrow. And for Portage, marginal VFR likely becoming IFR on the eastern entrance here in the late morning to early afternoon time period. And for Chilkoot and White, optimistically go another day of VFR. Freezing levels showing here across the Panhandle, roughly about 6,000 to 8,000 feet. The warmer air aloft sliding it down across British Columbia there. Then the colder intrusion here, 2,000 feet through the central Brooks Range, right down into the upper Yukon Valley areas with 4,000 feet down to the Alaska Range, back out toward eastern Norton Sound. So I'll have a warmer layer here through southern Alaska at about 6,000 feet with the freezing levels right where that trough axis is lying, then cooler conditions over the Alaska Peninsula and about 4,000 to 6,000 feet along the Aleutians. Looking at icing threats here of the light to isolated moderate rime and mixed type varieties, a lot of hit and miss with the shower activity going on here over the Copper River Basin, the Alaska Range down into south central Alaska, back to the southwest to the western Alaska Range all the way out to the Kilbrook Mountains. Icing free here over the central interior areas and back to the west. Possible icing threats there over the eastern Brooks Range area. Icing free out here over much of the Bering Sea until you get out to about Atka and Adak, out to nearly Shimya, where you've got some rime icing below 12,000 feet. And looking at the winds aloft here, 70-knot northerly jet there, pulling that colder air right down into the interior areas, and then turning westerly at about 40 knots there across the Alaska Range. Upper lows, 2 of them over the Alaska Peninsula and back out over the western Aleutians, keeping the main jet well to the south, although now getting a southwest flow, and that's eventually going to lead to some moisture there on Wednesday for the southeast coast. And at 9,000 feet southerlies, not too strong, 10 to 15 knots here across the Gulf of Alaska and in toward the Panhandle. The stronger winds from the northeast, 20 to 30 knots here from the Arctic coast into the northwest interior, but up to 35 knots again along the western Arctic coast in that Cape Lisburne to Point Hope area. West or northeast, 25 knots, and then diminishing here, pretty light for Bristol Bay, then 35 to 40 knot winds over the western and central Aleutians. And at 3,000 feet, a weak low here near Cape Newingham with southerly winds 10 to 15 knots in advance of that, turning northeast at about 20 over the Kuskokwim Valley. And pretty light winds here, kind of light and variable divergent flow there over the Panhandle, 5 to 10 knots, so nothing too serious in that area. And then the northeast winds here from the western central Arctic coast, 20 to 35 knots down across the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, and then those easterlies 35 to 40 here over the western Aleutians. Taking a look at the turbulence chart here, occasional moderate chop, Point Hope, Cape Lisburne, probably not reaching Point Lake, extending back to through the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise, some isolated areas of light to moderate chop here through the interior, and then also from the central Aleutians, a little rougher conditions back toward the western Aleutians where the winds are stronger. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor. On behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, thank you to Alaska Public Media for sponsoring this program. We are glad you could join us this evening, where we are happy to have back Millicent Hoytel. She is an accident investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board here in Anchorage. Welcome back, Millicent.
Thank you, Mary.
On our last show, we talked about how you got started with the NTSB with an internship, and you worked your way into an aviation accident investigator position here in Anchorage. We didn't mention that you were also the first female accident investigator in Alaska. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are there many female aviation accident investigators in the NTSB?
About 20% of the regional investigators are female. That doesn't include headquarters. At headquarters, in every different discipline, there are female investigators. A lot of our management are females. So yes, I mean, it's not a 50% female, but there are definitely females well represented in all aspects of the board.
And it sounds like the percentages are higher than what you would find in the commercial pilot or general aviation pilot population as well. So very, very good.
Yeah, I think that in the past 15 years since I've been in aviation, that women have definitely become more commonplace in aviation roles, which is great, and in all types of them, in air traffic or in pilots, and I think that's wonderful. So.
Do you think it's made a difference? Does gender matter in doing your job or how people treat you?
I don't think so. I would like to hope that it doesn't, and I think that the more commonplace that females come in areas where they haven't been before, will change some of those viewpoints, and I would certainly hope that any female would know that she could do any role in any of these aviation jobs and be well supported.
I believe they can. They can certainly do the job well. Are there any areas, in particular in safety, that you'd like to focus on during your time as an investigator in Alaska?
Education is something that's important to me. I think as investigators, we see how sometimes shortcomings can happen with flight planning or currency issues, and we collect a lot of information and data, so it doesn't do good if we just hold on to it. So sharing what we learned is important, and there's so many safety organizations in the area and seminars and ways that pilots can learn. So I would like to get involved in that and help share the lessons that we've learned so that it doesn't happen to somebody else.
Great. I know a lot of pilots out there think that you have the dream job working with the NTSB. What kind of career advice would you give to somebody who is looking for a job similar to yours?
I would say work hard, especially to get this job with the board. It took a lot of patience. You know, it was almost 3 years before I got here. So I was persistent and I was patient, and something that helped me was that I was slightly diversified in my background, and that I had pilot training and air traffic training. Any type of accident investigation training would definitely, you know, behoove you, but really just not giving up and working hard, and which would apply to any aviation job anywhere, but that's what got me here.
And that kind of advice would apply to a male or a female?
Absolutely, yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add from maybe your background, your experience, or from your schooling that's really helped you do your job?
I think working with students was always a challenge, and seeing things from a younger aviator's point of view. So if if we see accidents that happen with somebody with low time, then we really want to focus on training and say this has to happen early in training. This is really important. Going back and getting a different type of degree helped me put the picture together of how pilots and air traffic work together and how weather works together. So that has helped me as an investigator see all the different things that go into just one flight.
So I guess the audience has heard it here, persistence and diversification.
Yes.
Are a good career plan.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Millicent. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Mary.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this program, I encourage you to become a member of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate you tuning in to Hangar Flying. Until next time, thank you, and fly safely.
Welcome back. We'll look for westerly winds here for the central and south coast, 10 to 15 knots with those seas running 5 to 6 feet. Up on the north coast there, more southwest in the direction, but only at about 10 knots. For Clarence Strait, northwest winds at 20 tomorrow with seas at 4 feet. Southerlies there for Stevens Passage at about 15 with 3-foot seas. Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, northern Lynn Canal, south winds kicking up to 25 knots with those seas at about 5 feet, mostly in the afternoon hours. That's the same forecast out for Wednesday there for northern Lynn Canal. Southerlies 25 with 5-foot seas. Otherwise, kind of a change in the wind direction now. Southeasterlies there for Clarence Strait at 15 knots, up to 20 knots from the southeast for Stevens Passage. And out along the coast, southerly winds 10 knots on the central and south coast, more of a south to southeast direction at about 15, but still on the light side with seas running 4 to 5 feet. For Prince William Sound tomorrow, southeasterlies at about 15. For Cook Inlet, south winds 15 knots. For Kamishak Bay, southeast at 15 with 4-foot seas. Southerly winds here for the east side of Kodiak Island, right up across the Barren Islands and the western North Gulf Coast areas, with seas running at about 4 feet. Southwest 15 for the central Gulf Coast. Shelikof Strait, southwest winds 20 knots with 5-foot seas in the forecast for tomorrow. And then for Wednesday, light variable winds for northern Cook Inlet with seas pretty slight. Southeast 15 for Prince William Sound. Southeasterlies 20 knots from the North Gulf Coast and the Barren Islands with seas running 4 to 5 feet. Easterly winds at 20 knots here across Kodiak Island with 4 to 5-foot seas, and east 20 knots there for Kamishak Bay with 5-foot seas. Farther out to the west for Bristol Bay, southwest pretty light tomorrow, 10 knots, southeast 10 from Sitkinak over to about Sandpoint, and then easterly winds at 15 here on the Pacific side of the peninsula, northeast at 10 on the Bering Sea side. And the forecast for Wednesday for Bristol Bay, northeasterlies at about 10 knots with light variable winds here on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Light winds from the northeast, 10 to 15 knots from Cape Sarichev all the way up to Sitkinak. And for the Aleutians, small craft advisories here for the central Aleutians, east 25 knots, 30-knot winds from the east and northeast as you head west towards Shimi and Attu. Fox Islands, easterlies at 15 knots with 4 to 6-foot seas. And for Wednesday, northeast winds at 15 for the eastern Aleutians. Kind of a north to northwest breeze here, 15 to 20 knots for the western Aleutians, more northerly out toward the west, but still 20 knots with seas running out in these areas 7 to 8 feet. And for the southwest coast, north of Nunivak Island, got northeast winds at 20 knots tomorrow. South of Nunivak Island, westerlies pretty light at about 10 with seas just 3 to 4 feet. Trough axis line right through here, but that'll eventually shift a little farther to the south. Look for light northeast breeze there for the Pribilofs and northeast at about 20 for the northern Bering Sea. Small craft advisories for St. Lawrence Island, those northeast winds at 25 knots. And then the outlook for Wednesday, northwest now 15 knots south of Nunivak Island. Small craft advisories here for the areas of the southwest coast from Nunivak Island right up across St. Lawrence Island. Those northerly winds 25 to 30 knots, seas running 6 to 8 feet. Northwest at 15 for the Pribilofs with 4-foot seas. Up along the Arctic coast, northerlies at 15 knots on the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. The central coast, northeast 20. That wind pattern extends all the way down the coastline and becomes brisk wind advisory here for the western Capes, and from Wales to Cape Thompson, northeast winds. Actually, Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort, northeast at 30 knots with 5 to 6 foot seas. And then on Wednesday, not much change. The winds become a little more northerly there from Wales to Cape Thompson. Otherwise, no change. Northeast at about 20 here for the western coast. Light winds, light northeast breeze there for the central coast. Northeast 10 to 15 there along the eastern stretch of the coastline. And for tonight, again, dry conditions, high fire dangers again over the western and north central interior valleys. Rain shifting down into the Copper River Basin. Looks pretty damp there tonight with scattered showers and thunderstorm activity this evening into the area there. Back to the Alaska range. Showers scattered over the mountains here, south central Alaska, with more rain pushing into the Aleutians. And for Tuesday, again, showers a little more numerous here over south central Alaska, mostly near the mountains. The thunderstorms more scattered compared to what they were today, and that pattern holds with rain for Kodiak on Wednesday.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.